Candidates, just as we discussed earlier with health care, Democrats in Congress almost universally agree climate change is a significant problem that needs to be addressed. But again, they disagree over exactly how to address it, including how to generate enough electricity to meet demand as the country potentially phases out fossil fuels. Now, as part of his efforts to tackle climate change, Senator Whitehouse of Rhode Island, of course, is a lead co-sponsor of the ADVANCE Act, which would take a number of steps to expand the number of nuclear power plants in America. Mr. Casey, I'll bring you into the conversation. I'll start with you. Do you support or oppose Senator Whitehouse's bill to expand nuclear energy in the U.S.?
Thank you. It's nice to get a chance to speak. I do support Senator Whitehouse's legislation. I think nuclear power is a viable option for us right now. I think what we need to do, though, and we need to be careful, is right now we have a failing grid system. So we need to do extreme upgrades on the grid infrastructure to be able to handle the capacity that we're going to take on.
Mr. Gonsalves, same question. Do you support Senator Whitehouse's ADVANCE Act on nuclear power?
So I would have a conversation with the senator. I want to look into it more in depth. But what I would say is I support a federal Green New Deal. I think we need the most aggressive climate justice legislation so that way we can address the existential threat that we're experiencing in our community, which is climate change.
But to nuclear power specifically, there is debate in the Democratic caucus about whether that should be part of the portfolio used to address climate change. Where are you on nuclear power?
So again, I would look very diligently into this issue, and I would consult with the senior senator.
Do you have any gut reaction, or do you feel open to nuclear?
I think ultimately, look, I'm about the most aggressive climate justice legislation at the federal level. So if that's going to get us to that end, then I'm right there.
Mr. Almo.
I'm very open to the expansion of nuclear, but I do think we have to be very, very thoughtful as it relates to safety. As it relates to the general concerns, siting is going to be an issue. I trust Senator Whitehouse. I have had an opportunity to work for him, and I would say that we would need to collaborate as much as possible with all of the parties that are going to be affected by the expansion of nuclear power.
Mr. Regenberg, I looked. Senator Sanders, who was here for you over the weekend, was one of just 3 Democrats who voted against Senator Whitehouse's bill. Which senator do you side with on this one?
So I'm really proud to be the only candidate in this race that's been endorsed by climate and environmental organizations. This is the work of my life. I'm not super familiar with the advanced legislation and the details, so I would want to speak to Senator Whitehouse. I trust him a lot on these issues. My gut reaction, which you asked for, I don't think that we should be working to close down existing nuclear because we need all the energy we can that does not come from fossil fuels. But my understanding has been that building new nuclear power plants is a long process and a profoundly expensive process, and we need to be moving fast on the climate crisis. And my understanding has been that geothermal, wind, solar are faster, more efficient ways to get there. Again, I'd want to look into this and talk to the senator.
I'll bring you in a second, Mr. Casey. I want to get everyone's thought first, and then I'll come back to you. I can see your face about it. Ms. Cano, on nuclear power.
So I trust the experts. Senator Whitehouse has been a leader on the climate change. So I would be looking into supporting that bill. But what I would say is I also very proud to have the endorsement of the experts in actually the Senate and the people that have moved Climate Act here in Rhode Island. Senator Oyer and Senator Coleman both supported my campaign. And initially, Mr. Regenberg said that if one progressive woman would probably support, it would be
You did make that point. That's a little far from nuclear power, respectfully, Senator. Ms. Matos.
Honestly, I have to say I trust Senator Whitehouse. He has been a leader when it comes to the environment, in protecting the environment. I don't know enough about that legislation. I'm looking forward to meeting with him and learning more. But in general, I trust his judgment because he has been a leader in the area of climate change and resiliencies.
Ms. Quezada, nuclear power.
I agree with most of the thing. I think we need more information. We need to find out who is behind this and how they're going to do it for me to be able to say I will be against it or in favor. Then I think that we need to sit down with Senator Sheldon Whitehouse and find out how the process, how it's going to be done for me to be able to decide what way I go. Either way.
Thank you. Mr. Berber.
Yes, I do. And, we need cheap, clean energy. We need to diversify our clean energy portfolio. I'm the only candidate on the stage who has spent their entire career from bringing leaders together on climate change issues from the local level to the global level, working with the American Red Cross, at the Naval War College, at the State Department, and at the Pentagon. And look, we need real leadership to bring forth real solutions on climate change, and it doesn't extend beyond nuclear as well. I think we need to reduce greenhouse emissions. We need to bring those green energy jobs back here. We need to protect the water, land, and air that we breathe.
Mr. Casey, I'll give you some more time on this. You want to jump in?
Yeah, briefly. So I don't know where Gabe had the time to work for Senator Whitehouse because he worked for the former governor and 2 presidents. But my issue with Aaron is I completely agree that speed is a factor, but we can't go into things too fast. We have grid infrastructure problems. The faster we build things that are going to produce more energy, we can't handle the problems with the grid right now. That has to be the first issue, and we need a national grid infrastructure upgrade. And nuclear power is clean, and let's do it.
10 seconds. Are you sure you
happy
worked
to go over
for
my
Senator?
resume.
No, just 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
I got to work for Senator Whitehouse when he was a candidate for Senate in 2006. And so I got to do that and have also had the opportunity to collaborate with him in other ways.
Thank you.